The honest truth is this: things will get worse before they get better.
Calls a very dark winter.
If we don't act now, the future will be very bleak. Truthfully, we're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter. A dark winter. We remain in a very dark winter.
Hello, Serious Survivor here. Quoting the words of our President Joe Biden, this is going to be a very dark winter. But first, a quick word from our sponsors of this video. Do you know about shrinkflation? This is inflation by stealth, where you get less and less burger or candy bar for your dollar, but the Fed claims inflation's not a problem. Noble Gold solves this. You know that with the precious metal IRA, you can hedge growing prices and retire worry-free. You'll keep up with the Fed's inflation. This month, Noble Gold is giving away a free 5-ounce pure silver America the Beautiful bullion coin with every eligible IRA and 401k rollover. To learn more about these services offered by Noble Gold, please visit noblegoldinvestments.com or call us at 877-646-5347. Earlier this year, in a speech given by Mr. Biden, he used the terminology dark winter. And this terminology has stuck and it's grown. And what we've seen since then is politicians, news media, and various other outlets using this term as a warning almost as to how difficult that this winter will be. The question is, how could they know that it's going to be a dark winter? Because if it's simply due to the pandemic that's been going on, then that could change at any moment. It doesn't necessarily guarantee a dark winter. What does guarantee a dark winter is a lot of the legislation that we've seen pass coupled with the current situation the world is in. When we look at the mandates and talk about the mandates in New York, for example, and these have been going on through many states throughout the nation, many counties throughout the nation, these strict mandates are being put into place. And these mandates are basically banning people who haven't had the treatment from, eating in restaurants and doing various things like that. And for me, this seems like a test run. And we also see these mandates that are restricting people's employments. The so-called leader of this nation came out and urged, almost directed, private companies to require a certain treatment as conditions of employment, and has gone so far as to require this of our military, which in itself is quite concerning. Because when we look at those who receive the treatment and those who are refusing it at this point, it seems that this is divided along certain lines. And what we can see is a lot of people who believe in their freedoms, a lot of people who believe in the right to choose what I want to do with my body, then we are the ones that are being pushed to the side and basically unemployed. We're the ones being mandated. But it's quite concerning with the military, because a lot of people are calling this, and rightly so, basically weeding out those who do not agree with the current administration's not just mandates but policies in general, and discharging these people. We're going to see a lot of people discharged from the military who are very patriotic individuals who have served their countries through various conflicts and through peacetime, and who have served their countries honorably. And now these people are being persecuted and basically having their livelihoods and their careers stripped from them because they want the right to choose what they do, what they put in their own bodies. And that in itself is so contradictory. If you look at the abortion laws that Nancy Pelosi supported, but at the same time says, we have a right to choose when it comes to abortion, but you don't have a right to choose when it comes to a certain treatment that a lot of people are questionable about. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are red flag gun laws that are being passed through Congress as we speak. And these red flag laws are extremely concerning. And for those that aren't familiar with red flag laws, what this basically means is, if an individual is suspected of being a threat, then the local police, the county police, the State Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, whoever, whichever office decides to act on it, can basically come into that person's home, their place of business, their property, and confiscate not just firearms, but any type of weapon that they may find. Now, I think that we can all agree we don't want people who have bad intentions to have a bunch of guns and have the ability to go out and hurt people, innocent people. We all agree on that. But that's not what this type of law is aimed at. If we couple this law, think about this. If we look at what the Department of Homeland Security put out in their last two terrorist briefings, terrorist warnings that they put out over the summer, talking about increased terrorist activity, people listed on that list as domestic terrorists were those that do not believe in the treatment and those that, quote, spread misinformation. But misinformation is basically misguided or misinterpreted or straight out lies. And that's basically what misinformation means. But now that term pretty much applies to anyone who doesn't go with the status quo of the current administration, because there are too many situations in which factual evidence, in which scientific evidence has been produced but then been labeled as misinformation, and people's accounts deleted, people's accounts terminated, and then people basically losing their jobs and things like this. People, when we look at some of the information that has been put out there, this is coming from very credible sources. We have doctors, we have lawyers, some politicians, not many, but we see the FDA top officials resigned due to the boosters that are coming up. There are a lot of highly educated, highly trained people that work in those fields that have brought this type of information to our attention, and then suddenly they are no longer an expert just because they don't agree with the status quo of the current administration. So when we look at those documents, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security documents, they group all of these people that are, quote, spreading misinformation and those who don't believe in the current treatment as domestic terrorists. And I encourage research. If you don't believe what I'm saying, research it before you tell me that I'm wrong, because the information is out there, and it's not like it's on one little website hidden on the internet somewhere. It's on tens of thousands of websites with factual information backing all of this up. So we have the Department of Homeland Security basically classifying those who are against the treatment as terrorists. Well, terrorists are a threat to national security. Terrorists are a threat to local security. So with the red flag gun laws, there's a distinct possibility that those of us that fall into this category will be subject to some type of search and seizure for firearms and other types of weapons. And that, again, is still just the tip of the iceberg. We see the supply chain, the breakdown in the supply chain, and it's not broken now. A lot of people are saying the supply chain is broken now. There's a food shortage now. There's not. I mean, you can go to your grocery store and see that. But what we do see is evidence of the beginning of a food shortage. We see certain products, you go into the store and certain shelves will be empty while others are full. And this is growing bit by bit. And then not only are we seeing less products available, we're seeing the increase of the price in the products that are still available. We're seeing two things, inflation and shrinkflation, which are basically very similar. Inflation is just the raise in prices, and according to, business definitions, it has to do with the laws of supply and demand. But inflation now is shrinkflation. We're seeing a lot of products that are being shrunk in the amount of product we receive for that inflated price. And this is doubly bad. This is much worse than inflation, because now not only does that same type of food cost more, but we get less of it at that inflated price. When we start to couple this along with a lot of the mandates that we see in, let's just use New York as an example. New York mandating all healthcare workers will have to have the treatment or they will be terminated with no possibility of drawing unemployment. The religious exemption has been done away with there. So that's another thing. How can they do away with something like this behind the scenes, behind our backs, without any input from society? Only the input from the few legislators that claim they represent society. None of these politicians represent you and me. They represent the elite. They represent the New World Order. They represent the United Nations. They represent their world and what they want it to be. And they're trying to force us into their world in which we will be subject to all of their whims, their desires, and their needs. Basically, slaves. And that is their goal. So this winter is going to be extremely difficult for half the people. And the reason I say it's going to be extremely difficult for half the people is because these laws that are being passed, these mandates that are being pushed, then they're not going to affect those who already line up like sheep and fall in line. Those people are going to keep living like there's nothing wrong. They're going to keep going to where they want to go. They're going to keep working. They're going to have their homes. They're going to have electricity. They're going to have everything. But for those of us who don't fall into line, then one by one, we're seeing our rights being taken away. Our ability to buy and sell relies on a person's ability to generate an income. If you cannot maintain employment, then you're not going to generate an income for the most part. And this takes away our ability to buy and sell. Not only does it take away the ability to buy and sell, but for those who lose their homes, if you don't have your home paid up 6 months, a year in advance, you've got a couple of months of no payments before you're out of there. And that's on the lenient side of things, especially in today's society. I wouldn't expect to have that much time, because I guarantee there will be no more moratoriums on evictions or repossessions or foreclosures, I should say, of homes. This time it's going to be a lot worse for a lot of people. For those that do not fall into line, there will be no legislation to protect us, and we will be left to protect ourselves against a government that is working 100% against us. This winter is going to be extremely difficult. Once we lose the ability to buy and sell because we cannot work, simply cannot work, then who's going to pay the power bill? Who's going to pay the water bill? Who's going to pay the car insurance? Who's going to pay the car payment? If you can't pay any of that, if you have no power, no vehicle, no insurance, no health insurance, no food coming in unless you can grow it or you've already got it stored, then what does that put us in? That puts those of us who resist basically in a grid down situation. I mean, think about it. Your neighbor may have power, but you won't if you can't pay the power bill. And they will not hesitate to come in and cut your power off. And this is where we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready. This is going to be a difficult winter. I know a lot of people are going to accuse me of fear-mongering on this video. And you know, these days, fear-mongering is done by the mainstream media. They're the ones doing the fear-mongering. What I do on this channel, and what a lot of people, a lot of channels like mine do, are speak the truth. And folks, today, the truth ain't pretty. The truth is hard. And the truth is something we are facing, and we're going to have to face. It's going to hit us like a ton of bricks if we're not ready. And to get ready for this, we have to be prepared with food, with ways we can barter, with ways we can produce electricity for our home and stay warm this winter, and to protect our families. I'm going to be going much more in depth on this all throughout this week. And I'm finally back in South Carolina. I know I've been down here for about a month. Been setting up an office in our backyard here. I got a little building there. And I've been having my sons. They've been doing a lot of work, thank goodness, for 5 young, strong men that are able to help me do this construction, because I can't do it with my knee right now. I'm still rehabbing the knee. But they're doing all the work. I'm doing the supervising, and I give them the credit. They are doing what they need to do, and I'm very proud of them. But with that being said, basically what I'm doing is setting up my studio there, and the studio will be up and running here in the next few days. And my video production will pick up a lot more. Just been so busy. It's been time. Time is my enemy. But this Saturday, we'll be doing a live stream this Saturday night. And this live stream is going to be very important. And we're going to talk about a lot of these issues. And we're going to talk about the mark. And we're going to talk about other things. Thanks to everybody out there for the patience over the last few weeks when I haven't had much videos coming out. But believe me, I've still been researching. And I've still got a lot of information that I want to get out there. It's just time's been killing me. Thanks a lot for watching, y'all. God bless everybody out there. And for now, Serious Survivor, out.